Can I just go on a limb here and state that one of the best moments of the chapter was when Riboku was like, bring out the map, let me see it. The map is laid out on the table, you see the big panel just showing the map, and he's like, okay, so we're here. He has his finger moving on, and he's like, wait, over here. And he sees Gyo, and he's like, no, and you just see him looking at the city, you see him looking at the river, and he's looking back and forth. You just see his eye movements as he's just looking at the map, and you just see stress building in his eyes. And then when he actually realizes, he slams on the table, and he's like, are you out of your minds, Quinn? I'm like, yo, this man is straight up. You could see the stress in his eye, because he was like, yo, he's like, this is bad. Like, this is absolutely bad. He's like, at all time right now, like, time is of the essence. The longer you take, the better chances Quinn is gonna fuck you over. And right now, Riboku realizes that when he says you're out of your mind, he's like, this is not good. This is exactly what I was going to do in the Psy invasion and all that. This right here is freaking awesome. I just love seeing Riboku just stressing out. This man, you can just see the stress in his face. I need to emphasize that. The stress in that man's face when he looks at the map, he looks at each individual town like Yolenvin to the capital city, and he's like, holy hell, this is not good. And then everybody's freaking out. They just look at him like, what's going on? What's wrong? And then, you know, he yells and all that, and we now know he's going to be marching all of his army to where Gyo is to stop what Quinn is doing right now. Just that was by far probably one of the best moments of the chapter. Just seeing Riboku crack a little bit just because of how stressful it is. And also the realization that Ordo and how he's bringing his army in from the east, and he's just decimating city after city, just destroying cities, and it's making it to where he's stressing out. He's like, holy crap, what can I do right now? I mean, we don't really have much forces over there. We need to focus on the west. But now, thanks to what Quinn is doing, and then also now knowing about this new general that has popped up, Shiba, I think that's his name, just overall, all these little bits and pieces throughout the chapter, just there's a lot of weight put on Riboku's shoulders throughout this chapter. He's like, holy crap, time right now. The more time that ticks down, the better chances Quinn has to just completely demolishing us, which, like I said, this is like the exact same as what happened in the Psy invasion. You remember when Riboku, he sent his entire army around to attack Psy, and it was thanks to all the effort, thanks to the king, but also seeing what, you know, Shin was doing as well. We know for a fact it was thanks to a lot of work from also the people inside of Psy that was able to stop Riboku and his entire army. And I mean, the big part of that was how the army continued to march. Riboku was trying to catch Quinn off guard and go for their capital city because they wouldn't have much defense there compared to where they had to fight on other parts of the battlefield. So Riboku was just trying to attack them from the side. It was very crazy, but it worked. And what is happening here is very similar to what happened to Quinn. Quinn is now doing the tactics of what Riboku did, and he realizes, he's like, shit, this is not good, and they're coming in to try to just completely destroy him. They're marching in the middle of the night to really just get that ground on Zhao. Shin, as a character, I'm loving his personality in this arc. Like, you can really see how he's grown up. He's matured a hell of a lot more compared to what he was earlier on in the series. And this is something I haven't really got the time to talk about. Like, I haven't talked about it in my recent reviews because I really haven't had the time to do it. And I kind of want to focus on that right now. Shin, as a character, has shown growth constantly throughout many arcs he's been in since the very beginning of this series. He started off as a very immature kid, and then now we've seen how much he has grown. I mean, the way he leads his army, to the way he's just sitting there and he carries himself in the middle of the meeting in the tent. They're all discussing the battle plans of what needs to be done, and he just acts like it's normal and all that, and he's not really showing or trying to stand out or anything. He just, you know, acts very mature, and the way he stands just shows he has this atmosphere of a very soon-to-be general. And I love the way Shin has matured so much. After every battle he's been in, you could just see the maturity in him, the way he carries himself, especially the way he makes it to the tent, the way he just gets to the tent, and he's like, I'm sorry and all that, just couldn't find the, you know, HQ, and he got hit on the head, but he didn't try to backtalk, he didn't try to start shit or anything like that. He just, you know, let it be, and then he went on to the next scene. For instance, you know, seeing the meeting with Onsen and what was happening, and what the role right now was. Were they going to continue to march through the night? Were they going to take a break? Whatever was going to happen, he was waiting to hear the orders, and that's what I see right there. I saw a lot of growth in Shin's character, and how he showed that he wasn't being childish like he was in the past. The way he just threw that aside. He didn't give a shit, and when he went in the tent, just listened to the orders and stuff. That right there, I really loved about this chapter. Honestly, if that Riboku stuff wasn't in this chapter, that'd probably be my favorite part of this chapter, just to see the growth in Shin's character, and how he's acting so different compared to what he was in the past. Okay, so with that being talked about, let's talk about the situation with the East. So there's a new general that has kind of been introduced, a new commander, and this new commander, Shiba, like I said, hopefully that's his right name, Shiba has been introduced, and this is a man that's been off the radar for a very long time, and I know many might get upset with this of how this character just popped out of nowhere, but in reality, we need to think about, what type of age this is set in. If we remember, this is very, very, very back in the past, okay? And that means that there's no internet, okay? There's no freaking internet in this series. I mean, we already know that shit, but I'm just stating the obvious. There's no internet. There's no walkie-talkies. There's no phones. And, I mean, the only form of communication is by, through horse. A messenger going back and forth to different cities and, relaying messages to you. And stuff like this can be very dangerous, very time-consuming. It can take days, maybe even weeks, to relay this information to another city. And so there can be a lot of delays with information for whatever is going on. Like, for instance, let's say an army is moving on to your capital city, okay? That could take, multiple days for you to get that information. It could take maybe a day, 2 days, depending on how fast the person is, or if the person gets killed in general, and there's no word back. I mean, anything could possibly happen. So, when you think about it like this, not knowing about this general, it makes sense, because like I said, there's no internet, there's no phones, there's nothing like that, so all this information around the world is not going to be out to the general public. I mean, majority of people in the past, they only cared about what was around their vicinity. For instance, what was in their town, maybe what was in their capital city, or wherever they visited. That's all they cared about. They didn't care about knowing everything around the world. They didn't care about knowing what was, way off to the west. Nobody really probably cared that much, besides the high-tier politicians. That's probably the only people that really cared. So when you think about it, not many people knowing about a certain general in a country, even if it's your country, it's understandable, because, I mean, not everybody's gonna know all the information. They don't have that connection and know everything. They probably don't have the time to learn. So generals popping up that you never heard before, popping up and being super strong, very crazy, it makes sense, because the time it's set in, it just makes a lot of sense for people to just pop up and be that crazy, having armies in their back pocket and you're not even realizing, because, like I said, it's the era that this series takes place in. So anyone that has any problems with Shiba popping up and, bringing his army and how he's, comparable to the great generals, I mean, honestly, like I said, makes sense because of what year, this series is set in. So with that being said, Shiba, I'm looking forward to him actually being a part of this upcoming fight, because right now we needed a crazy new general added to Zhao's forces. I mean, right now, things are looking very grim for Zhao. I mean, it really is looking very grim. They're getting attacked from the east. They got caught with their pants down when they were sitting at the west. And right now you have Quinn just popping up about to attack their second largest city, Gyo. So, I mean, it's just not looking good for them at all in this chapter. And so a new general being introduced, this might, level the playing field a little bit to add more of a conflict to the upcoming war between the two states. Because, I mean, let's just be real here. We do want Quinn to win, but we don't want it to be a steamroll. I mean, when you're reading a series, you want that, that conflict, that freaking crazy, rough battle. You want to see two states go at it, and you want to just see how they win, and just see how they overcome with, just that willpower. That's what we want to see. And seeing, Quinn come in and just completely decimate Zhao like it's nothing, that wouldn't be for an interesting story. So this new general being added, it adds an extra layer of conflict, because now if Ordo gets defeated, and if his army just gets completely wiped out, we know this man is crazy, and he's going to come straight over to Quinn and start fighting him, while Zhao's bringing their forces from the west to go fight Quinn as well. It's just going to be a big freaking brawl going on. So I can't wait to see what is going to happen with this, and where Kingdom goes from this point onward from this chapter. But one last thing I do want to talk about is the situation with Onsen. So Onsen, he states in his meeting, time is of the essence, we gotta be marching right now throughout the entirety of the night. If any of your squad lags behind, the officer in command, the commanding officer, the general, or whoever's leading their forces, they will be executed. They will take all the blame. It will not be the soldiers. It will be you that takes the blame, and you'll get your head completely fucking removed. You'll get executed right then and there. So, this is bad. This lets us know that if anyone lags behind for any certain reason, something happens that isn't someone attacking them, then that is not good. That means that all the commanders could possibly lose their head and die. On top of that, though, it's to show how dire this march is. Everybody has to keep moving. If someone is not there, that squad is not there, that means that you're probably fucking over the entirety of the war. You know, what Quinn is trying to do. So, pretty much what Onsen was trying to say is that right now, everybody get your ass in gear, keep moving, we gotta march. We cannot stop right now. It's time to run like a freaking devil. We gotta go to Gyo right now. We gotta get over there, we gotta make sure we get there before Zhao sends their reinforcements. So, with that being said, chapter overall, very good chapter. Cannot wait to see what happens next. Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. And I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.